page, agiprodj.com. Here at NAMM 2009 in the Stanton booth. I'm here with Craig. He's going to give us an overview of the new Stanton SCS1D and SCS1M.
Okay, this is the SCS1. It's our flagship line of MIDI controllers. It's broken down into the SCS1D, which is a turntable analog, and the SCS1M, which is a mixer controller. Now, it's important to note before we go into this that even though this looks like a typical DJ mixer, it's not. It's a MIDI controller and a sound card. So it does have an input. You can use it to loop an external source if your software supports that. But in terms of like being able to mix without being hooked up to a computer, this does not do that. So let's get to the good stuff now. Typical thing you're going to do before you start is load tracks into your decks. We've gone into browse mode here, and you can see that my platter will roll through my collection. When I want to drop a song into a deck, that'll load here on deck A. I just push the button and it loads. Now, this functionality is also mimicked on the SCS1M. I can roll through my collection here as well. You can see that this is automatically shifted into browse mode to match this. I can roll through, and again, if I want to load a song into a deck, I simply tap and it loads. So let's load 4 songs. And take it out of browse mode. Bring it back to deck A. You can see here on the display that it will actually tell you what deck it's on. A, B, C, or D. And also, we have deck select buttons here. You can access them directly. They backlight, and it also switches the display here. So you've got very clear note on what deck you're on, no matter whether you're using this, the 1D, or the system together. So let's play. Okay, so we're on deck A here. You can see that the response, the scratching response on this now is actually really decent. You can also watch here. You can also pitch bend. And if you watch my finger, you can accomplish a pitch bend by dragging your finger along the ring, just like you would normally do, or rubbing your finger on the platter itself. So actually, it's pretty tight response, especially for tractor. You have typical shovel controls here. Q. And you'll notice that when I hit Q, go back to my first Q point, the platter stops. When I press play, it starts. If I move the focus to another deck, my platter stops. Again, that's two-way communication to and from the controller and the software, making sure that everything stays in synchronization. Now, let's say that my pitch control on deck B is -6. I go back to deck A, that pitch control will change to reflect the value. So in terms of like soft takeover functionality inside of software, we all know that that doesn't always work very well. You usually have to go past the point of the soft takeover trigger and then come back through. That's not always a good thing. This maintains synchronization. The platter also follows the speed. If I slow this down, the platter slows down too. Move it up, the platter spins faster. So our second section here, let me turn this down a little bit. Our second section here of note is the encoder section. Right now these encoders are set to control FX1. You can see my first knob does dry wet. We have an indication here of the level of the amount. This is my effect 1, effect 2, and effect 3. And you'll notice here, let me grab my mouse. If I use the mouse to change a value, on the encoder ring. Same with the pitch slider, actually. The second preset for these encoders is FX2. Again, we have control over all 4 knobs inside. Pushing down on the encoder triggers FX buttons 1 through 4. Our third preset for the encoder ring allows you to select what effect is loaded in the slot. So you can dial through, and I can change my effects on the first 3 knobs, FX1, the second knob, FX2. That's our effects section, our rotary encoders here. The trigger section, likewise, is highly modal. My first preset in the trigger section activates looping inside of Tractor Pro. These are velocity sensitive keys. We have 4 buttons here, but we can actually access all 8 cue points by dropping down into a secondary. So this is 5, 6, 7, 8. Now it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. I can turn on a loop. Go to cue points. You'll see that the scribble strips change to show you what they're doing. This is cue set, so I drop a cue here. That's cue 2. If I press this button, very, very tight action. Our third preset is beat jumps. We don't really have anything programmed in for the 4th yet, but by the time you guys get the preset, there'll be something cool there. That's pretty much the 1D. Some additional functionality, some different functionality on the 1M. Like I said, this is a Firewire interface and a MIDI controller. One of the things that's cool about it isn't immediately apparent is how robust the driver is. If you guys have been in a booth and had someone accidentally trip over a cable or unplug your interface, you know that's a huge pain. Well, I've actually unplugged the Firewire cable, and of course playback is stopped. Usually that would be a deal breaker. You'd be spending the next 5 minutes getting your system back up and running, but you can hear that we're already back. Device is recognized, and it's playing again. Likewise with power, I can pull power from the unit. You can see that the unit's gone completely dead. As soon as I find where to plug this back in, plug it back in, takes a couple seconds, picks right back up, and playback will start. And you can see that the pitch slider changed to maintain synchronization. We are back up and running. Otherwise, the functionality is pretty straightforward. We have rows of knobs arranged in channel strips. We've got these labeled as gain, EQs, and pan. Of course, you can label those however you want. You can assign whatever functionality you want. So if you will use the 4-channel, the 4-band EQ inside a Tractor, you definitely can map those to however you want to do it. This is the same encoder group that's here. So all the same functionality goes here, and here's your preset switcher for the encoders. Channel faders, you guys know how all those work. Crossfader. This is your AB. This is to turn on effects 1 and 2. These are just notes. You can assign those to whatever. Your scribble strip is dynamic. This is your browser section. It also acts as a shuttle and playback in that preset. It's got 2 balanced outputs, CRS, to go to your main system. It has a zone output that will allow you to feed something like a booth monitor. And also there's an input. Again, like I said at the beginning of this, if you have software that supports an external source, you can use that to route input in. Otherwise, you can use it, for instance, in Ableton as your recording input. That's the SCS1M for AGI Pro Audio, and Ty and Jason. This is Stanton Magnetics, and I'm Craig. See ya.